One Question is brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996. Turnkey Search Managing Director and former Boston College and Villanova Athletic Director Gene DeFilippo back on One Question. Gene, great to have you again. Let's go with the situation right now we find on each coast. Virginia is open. Cal is open. Traditionally, probably a similar candidate pool. We certainly know Cal has some financial challenges right now that Virginia may not have, which here's my question for you in regard to those two openings. And right now, I think we have a dozen or so openings overall. Inevitably, there are athletic director opportunities that somewhat look alike at any point in time in the timeline of the industry, just because of how jobs change and the cyclical nature of the industry. For candidates out there who have a profile that fits two openings that are going down at the exact same time, maybe there's the same search firm is handling both openings, or different search firms are handling two different openings. But again, the candidate has a profile that matches for each institution. If you are that administrator, how do you play that correctly where you may be involved in two different searches at the same time for an institution that you fit both opportunities?
Well, Matt, there's no two searches that are alike. And as you say, this frequently happens in December and in March with football and basketball coaches. Many times there are openings within the same conference, say the Southeastern Conference or the Atlantic Coast Conference, and there are candidates that could maybe fit at both institutions. And so the search firms and the coaches need to be very, very careful, and confidentiality is key. Cal is a terrific job. It really is. They may be dealing with some financial issues, but they'll work through those. They're very smart. They've got a board that is extremely talented, a very, very good, president who has just come on, and they'll figure it out because they're a great school and they have a great tradition. Virginia, one of the best jobs in the country, from a place to live, a top school, both educationally and athletically, in a wonderful conference. They've had tremendous amount of success in so many sports. Both are really, really good jobs, and both jobs will command a lot of interest. It's going to be interesting.
In your position now, Gene, if you have a candidate who is involved in one of your searches who may also be a target for a different search, at times have you just been transparent with them and say, hey, talk to me about this other opening and how you see these two versus each other, and let's talk about maybe how I can help you think through the process? Or are you sometimes maybe more in maybe sales mode might not be the right term, but hey, I am working for my institution, and if this is an individual who could fit really well there, I have to sell this school?
Transparency is always the best, and no search firm is perfect, but the thing that I hear most about Turnkey is most of your searches end with great confidentiality, and people really have not heard of many of the candidates that you hire. So that makes us proud of that. I think that you've got to be very careful. If you know that if a candidate is interested in one position as well as your position, I think it's important that you let the president and people on the committee know the information that you have. And I'm sure that the same thing is vice versa. But a lot of times you have to make people make a commitment. I certainly don't want to embarrass this school. If you are offered this position, are you going to take it? And if you're just here and you want to interview and you're not sure that this is the right job for you or that this may not be the right time for you, then please don't take the interview, and be candid with us, and we'll move on and go with somebody else. But I think the candidates have to be transparent. I think the search firms have to be transparent, but everybody has to have transparency and confidentiality. I always go by Coach Lombardi's sayings. Coach Lombardi was one of my heroes, along with Coach Bear Bryant. And outside the locker room door, Coach Lombardi had a sign, and it said, "What you say here, what you see here, what you hear here, let it stay here when you leave here." Well, we put that sign outside of every locker room at Boston College. We told our student athletes that we were a family, that we could, have disagreements within the family, that we could have serious discussions within the family. But when we got outside, then, we acted and protected our family.
That's interesting. I'm curious how often when you ask a candidate point blank, we need to know if we offer you this job, are you going to take it? And this applies to head coaches, athletic directors, either one. How often are you keying in on their tonality, their overall approach to the question, more so than them just saying, "Absolutely, Gene, I'm in," or here are my dynamics in play? Is there a lot to be learned in between the lines, if you will, when in those responses?
Yeah, the advantage that I have is I know most everybody in this business. I was a director of athletics for 20 years on the Division I level, so I know most of these athletic directors, and even the younger ones now that were associate athletic directors. When we were speaking at clinics and we were doing the like, so I know most of them. I can say to them, and I have with coaching searches, when you meet with the athletic director, if you two can really, really get along and you feel good about one another, are you going to take this job? Because I am not going to put you forward if you're just going to use this job to leverage your present job to get more money. So you need to let me know now where we're at. And I'm not saying that necessarily you and the athletic director are going to hit it off. If you don't, that's okay. That's one thing. But if you do, and it goes well, I need to know whether you're going to take this job or not. And most all of them will really, really be square with you, because they have to protect what they've got back home too. And they can't be exposed to their administration, to their coaches and student athletes and alums. So I find that most people, and in fact, most all people in this profession, are pretty honest and pretty transparent about things, because you know what? Your reputation is the most important thing that you have, and nobody wants to lose that.
And that's today's One Question, brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996. One Question is designed to give D1 Ticker subscribers valuable insights on how executive leaders in college athletics think about key issues on their respective campuses, in their departments, or within their leagues and conferences. One Question is brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996.